Hey guys! Loops are a powerful concept in programming. We will explore how Dr. Strange uses loops to defeat Dormammu. When Dr. Strange uses the time stone, he actually just writes a while loop with a condition. To explain while loop in plain English, this code is saying, while the condition in the parentheses is true, do the actions within curly brackets. So within the while loop, the event happens over and over again. But then you might wonder, Dormammu kills Dr. Strange in different ways. The events don't have to be the same in the loop. Dormammu can say different things and do different things. But as long as terminating condition casted by Dr. Strange never reaches, they're in what is called an infinite loop. An infinite loop can annoy a comic villain to back off or crash your browser. So one should be careful wielding the power of infinite loop. In the scene where Dr. Strange confronts Dormammu, a couple of things happen in sequence. Dr. Strange says, "Dormammu, I have come to bargain." Dormammu says something. Dormammu kills Dr. Strange, and then Dr. Strange flies into the scene again. Therefore, the end of the loop is when Dr. Strange dies. This loop continues until the terminating condition reaches. And the terminating condition is when Dormammu agrees to Dr. Strange's bargain. But before Dormammu agrees to Dr. Strange's bargain, Dormammu needs to ask the question, "What do you want?" And before Dormammu asks the question, he needs to be annoyed. So how do we do that in the code? First, we start with the while loop. As you can see, there is a while loop here. So within the parentheses, there is a terminating condition called Dormammu agrees to bargain. And then within the curly brackets, we have all the actions that is supposed to happen. So right now, we have this condition called Dormammu agrees to bargain, which is often referred to as Boolean. It has either false or true. We define this variable at the top, where we have Dormammu agrees to bargain. And then we start with false because initially Dormammu is not gonna agree to the bargain. And as you can notice, there is an exclamation mark before this condition. While loop, while it is true, we will run the actions within the curly brackets. So if we start with false, then it will never run, right? So we have to do the opposite. The exclamation mark just means reverse. So this value actually starts with true. So whenever you write a loop, you always have to think about how they can reach false in the condition. So you don't end up in the infinite loop and then crash your browser or whatever you run your code in. So now we have the terminating condition. We just have to think about how do we get to the terminating condition. So we go backwards. We start with the end of the code. So we talked about how Dormammu need to agree to the bargain for the time loop to break. And then that's where Dr. Strange get his quote-unquote victory. In the end, we have this thing. We define Dormammu agrees to the bargain. We set the value to true in the end. But how do we get to that point? In the scene where Dr. Strange confronts Dormammu, he actually tried to just annoy the hell out of Dormammu, and until Dormammu is so annoying that he just cannot take it anymore, and he asks Dr. Strange, "What do you want?" And Dr. Strange says his bargain, finally. As you can see that when Dr. Strange says the bargain, we can see in here, he says, "Take your zealots from the earth, end your assault on my world, and never come back. And do it, I will break the loop." And that's the last thing he said before Dormammu agrees to the bargain. I have this variable called Dormammu annoyance level, and that just represents how annoyed Dormammu is. We can define the variable at the top. The annoyance level, it starts with 0, because in the beginning, Dormammu wasn't annoyed at all. So whenever you write the plus, it just means it increments by 1. So every time code runs through this curly brackets, this Dormammu annoyance level will plus 1. So eventually the Dormammu annoyance level will get to 10. This is just an arbitrary number that I picked. so we don't run too many loops. Before that happens, we mentioned that there is a few actions in sequence that happens. Dr. Strange always start the scene by flying into, so we do this thing called Dr. Strange.do. It just means it execute this function called do, and we pass in 0 because in the do function, we have the actions defined as an array. And if we pass in 0, it's going to return the first item of the action array. So in the console log, it will just log out flies in. Dr. Strange will say something, which is the first index of the lines variable within say. And then you will see that in the first item, it is Dormammu, I have come to bargain. That's the first line that Dr. Strange says. You will notice that Dr. Strange, I pass in numbers. Dr. Strange's actions and lines are more fixed. And then what Dormammu does and what he says is more random. How do we do that? The way we do that is that we have a randomized index for the actions or the lines. So as you can see in Dormammu says, we have a whole bunch of lines, which is contained in this array or this list. We have this function called get random array index. The way it works is that we get a randomized number. So if you do math.random in JavaScript, it returns a random number from 0 to 1. And you want to floor it, when you actually do math.floor, round down the number. So you will get a number like 0, 1, or 2, just depending on how long your array is. Then you can have a randomized line. Like every time when you execute this in the code, the Dormammu will say different things and do different things So when everything is said and done, we can try to run the code in the terminal. You just run the file, and you can see that it has a whole bunch of console logs. It starts out with Dr. Strange flies in, and then he says, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. And as you can see that Dormammu doesn't always go according to the script. Maybe he will say you what's happening first instead of saying you have come to die, whatever, then because we just randomize the lines or the action that he do. So you can actually improve this by adding a counter within the while loop to control what they say and how they converse with each other. But for now, we just want to actually get to the terminating condition. Eventually, Dormammu asks, what do you want? And then finally, Dr. Strange says, take your salad from the earth and your assault on my world and never come back. And after that, you see that the program doesn't run anymore because we have reached the terminating condition. And that's how you defeat a cosmic villain. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you find this video to be helpful or you think this is a fun way to learn how to code, please let me know in the comment section and drop a like and maybe consider subscribe if you want to. And see you in the next one. Bye bye.